Thank you for joining us on the program, everyone. Tonight, we're tracking a dramatic escalation in U.S.-Nigeria relations sparked by a viral post from U.S. President Donald Trump on Truth Social that has stunned both Abuja and even Washington. It's raising fresh questions about Nigeria's sovereignty, its security strategy, and the wider meaning of aid in 21st century diplomacy. It's an update to an earlier claim by U.S. lawmaker alleging a Christian genocide in Nigeria, a claim that was widely disputed by Nigerian authorities, but one that has continued to shape foreign perceptions of Nigeria's internal security crisis. In that particular post, President Trump accused the Nigerian government of allowing the killings of Christians, warning that if Nigeria fails to act, the United States could intervene, guns blazing, to wipe out Islamic terrorists. The post has since triggered a storm of reactions worldwide, from alarm within Nigeria's diplomatic cycles to a measured response from President Tinubu, who reaffirmed Nigeria's sovereignty and also rejected any suggestion of religious persecution under his watch. The U.S. War Department, as you know now, has confirmed that it's reviewing all options, though Trump's own special advisor on Arab and African affairs, Mossad Bolos, had only weeks earlier urged a more diplomatic approach, saying that Nigeria's conflict was complex and required support and not threats. A threatened military action brings to mind, no doubt, American intervention that we've seen in countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, and even Libya, where quick and decisive actions left years of instability in their wake. The tone of the U.S. president's message has raised fears of a return to the kind of American intervention that we've seen in these countries, and we are hoping that that really doesn't happen. Although the presidency has now also debunked the news that Mr. President will be meeting with Vice President J.D. Vance, calling that information false and misleading. There's growing speculation about a possible encounter between both leaders, especially on the sidelines of the G20 summit in South Africa. A meeting that brings to mind now those awkward and rather discomforting televised sessions that we've seen President Trump have with presidents like Volodymyr Zelensky, Cyril Ramaphosa, and other African leaders. So will Mr. President be next? Tonight, we're asking whether or not Nigeria is facing a crisis of perception or a crisis of diplomacy. How should the country respond to this high-stakes rhetoric from Washington, and what lessons can history offer about foreign help or foreign aid as we know it that comes with the threat of force? Joining me are two guests with unique perspectives on this unfolding story. Security expert Oyekachi Adekoya is right here with me in the studio. International policy analyst Ladi Awotinde joins us live from Canada. Gentlemen, thank you for coming, and thank you for making it to the show this evening. Let's begin here in Nigeria, because Canada is far, Mr. Awotinde, and I'll be with you shortly. I'm looking at that post right now, and it's interesting the way the American president puts it. First is the fact that he talked about we may very well go into now disgraced country, gun blazing to completely wipe out. And then it goes ahead to say if we attack, it will be fast, it will be vicious, and it will be sweet. What do you make of the psychology behind this post?
Initially, one would suppose that President Donald Trump has been watching too much Fast and Furious movie. Because if not, there's nothing that's going to be fast and furious about an incursion into Nigeria. In your introduction, you talked about Libya, Syria. In fact, if you look at Syria, for example, you can see the clear case of the Assad regime, the ouster, the incursion of HTS, the eventual coming to power of HTS. Now Syria has a former Al-Qaeda leader as the president of the country. In the wake of HTS coming to power, a lot of genocide did occur. In the case of Libya, you mentioned the problem started as genocide in Benghazi.
That's right.
And today, Libya is falling apart. Nigeria is a landmass of over 920,000 square kilometers. There's nothing that's going to be pretty about a military invasion of Nigeria, because you can't invade and hold the country just by sorties. You also have to have boots on the ground, the mobilization of which, the resources of which, would really cost the U.S. government a lot. And if you look at the level of involvement they have in Europe, in Eastern Europe, and the engagement in Western Asia, and the pivot towards Asia in South China and the Pacific, the Indo-Pacific, and then you look at the amount of deployments in Venezuela, note what Donald Trump has said. If the government does not, then the U.S. may very well. He has not said it will happen. You know, may very well. So it's just suggestive language.
But the War Department is saying that it's keeping all the options open. It sounds pretty much like what we've heard before. But the good thing is that the U.S. president changes his mind very fast, especially when you consider the meeting he had with Zelensky the other day.
It's all called strategic ambiguity. Remember that Trump wrote the Act of the Deal. So there's clearly some negotiations going on between the Nigerian government and the U.S. government. Some have argued that perhaps this is also some pressure campaign to give the U.S. some leverage in negotiations with the Nigerian government. Perhaps that is that. But the language, true and true. Listen, in risk management, in even intelligence space, you talk about assessment. When we look at assessment, we look at the language of the assessment language. He has said, if the government doesn't move fast, so condition, if the government move fast, then there is no need. They may very well not. So, I mean, it's all Buster for now. And then, of course, the ditto, the minutes to the War Secretary, and then say, look at options. Of course, the War Secretary will look at options. And the options will not be, it will not be fast, it will not be furious, it will not be pretty. Not even for the U.S. government. So, yeah.
Let's bring Mr. Awotinde into this conversation. Recall that Canada has its own fair share when President Trump said he was going to make it a state in the United States, but Nigeria has now been designated as a country of particular concerns. What does that pose for our security architecture as it is, and especially our relationship, our diplomatic relationships with the U.S.?
So thank you so much, Nifemi. It's good to be back with you. It's unfortunate that we have to be having this conversation in the first place. We, as a Nigerian, you don't want to see a single soul lost to any form of banditry or any form of insurgency. Unfortunately, we've been on this for quite some time. We know what happened since year 2000. We've been on issue of Boko Haram and incursion in the northeast. Then the herders, farmers crisis that has moved to the north central, and that has, of recent now, we're having a very ugly tale of the incidents in Kwara. He has been in Plateau, he has been in Benue for now and for some time. However, the question you're going to ask yourself is, what has been happening? Has there been change in the pattern? What has really been happening? So there's been a lot of work done, but however, the work isn't enough. But coming to what we're saying, Nigeria is a sovereign state, and it's unfortunate people don't really value the sovereign integrity of the country. They just believe because you have someone who is a superpower, he can say whatever he wants to say, then he can do whatever he wants to do. But he just go on his own social media and he can tweet whatever he wants to do to any country in the world. He has said he wanted to annex the second largest country in the world. Canada is the second largest country in the world by land mass. He wants to make them a state. He wants to go to Gaza, make Gaza a beautiful real estate. That's millions of people's ancestral home. That's their country. You said it's going to be a beautiful real estate. Then you said you hosted the president of Ukraine. You told him in the face of the world, even while the enemies were watching, telling him that he has no card. Then you come to Nigeria, you realize under President Muhammadu Buhari, Donald Trump has called Nigeria a shithole. Then now he says it's a disgraced country. This is somebody who has no decorum for any form of diplomacy or international protocol. He believes whoever doesn't look like him, whoever doesn't talk like him is not worth giving attention to. And now we find ourselves in a place where we have to keep celebrating somebody because he has threatened to invade the country. That's very unfortunate, and it's very ridiculous. Unfortunately, we have a country that is politically polarized, that is ethnic, in terms of ethnic, we're divided, and people are hailing a king for saying that he wants to come to the country to to waylay the country. And for me, two things spoke very loudly for me in the tweet, because no matter what it is, we need to pick senses out of even things that doesn't make absolute sense. He said they're going to stop aid to Nigeria. That's number one. Then it's going to attract Nigeria. If government doesn't move fast, it's going to be vicious. And the terms of aid is really, really what I want to speak to. If we're actually serious as a country, if our leaders are serious as a country, there is no point for us waiting for US for aid. In 2023, US gave Nigeria about $1 billion. In 2024, they gave about $783 million. Now, for what? We are prosecuting Emefiele for about $4.5 billion. Just one of his cases. That's one person. So if people in government live in modesty, with seriousness, with heart to what we need to do as a country, we take our economic sovereignty, we can take our territorial sovereignty, and nobody's going to sit in Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, and tell us that it's going to come to Nigeria to waylay the country and it's going to be vicious. For me, I find that very ridiculous. And the fact that some Nigerians are even thinking that it's something to really celebrate, I think it sounds very ridiculous and appalling to me. We need to get serious. Look at our public officers, for instance. When you go to other countries, you go to the West, you go to Europe, and you go ask for aid and negotiate for loans. You see these governors, these ministers, they go there wearing Patek, wearing Richard Milles. Why the minister from the West, where you've gone to borrow money, they bought their wristwatch from Costco, they bought their suit from just any other store. And these guys are going with $3 million Rolex, and they see us, they know that we're not serious as a people. And things like that really, really bleeds my heart. Because if we have done what we are supposed to do, there's no way we're even going to be close to where we are. Look at economic momentum of Nigeria from 1960 to 1966. Imagine if Nigeria has gone in that direction. And I keep telling people, I say, okay, Canada is a very big country. Canada is a very big country. Let's take that for instance. But see what we have done. Canada's longest bridge, the Confederation Bridge in Canada, is about 1 kilometer longer than Third Mainland Bridge. But guess what? That was a one-way go, one-way back bridge. But Third Mainland Bridge, that was also that was commissioned in late 80s, is 4 ways both ways, 4-way go, 4-way back. That is 8 good lanes with about 6 spurs. That's how we were going. Take, for instance, Nigeria has television service before Australia, before Canada, even before France. Now look at where we are as a nation. Then somebody is going to stay in the US and say he's going to come attack the country just because our leaders have failed woefully. Look at people in the assembly. Look at people in the National Assembly. The kind of lifestyle our leaders live does not show that we are serious. If we just minimize, look, when they want to buy cars, they buy the most expensive Lexus, they buy the most expensive Mercedes. All of them are driving Maybach, they're driving Lexus. It is not like that elsewhere. We need to minimize our lifestyle. We need to focus on what is important. Let's focus on security. In the unemployment and insecurity are like Siamese twins.
I hear you clearly.
When people are engaged,
and I get your point, Mr. Awotinde. The fact that this development is turning our attention to even deeper issues within our leadership. But let me bring Mr. Oyekachi into this conversation very quickly. We understand how the U.S. president speaks, but it's also that he's president of one of the most powerful nations in the world, especially U.S. is not a country you want to, and we've seen it in the very restrained response from the Nigerian government, saying that, we have a good relationship with the U.S., we expect that you would help us, give us intel and what have you. But how do you think we're supposed to respond? The presidency is saying that, Mr. President is not meeting with J.D. Vance on Tuesday. But it's possible that Mr. President is still going to meet with Trump. And we've seen what has happened in the Oval Office with Cyril Ramaphosa, with Zelensky. What do you think our narrative should be? How should we be engaging the United States at this time? If that meeting eventually happens between Trump and Tinubu, what should our president be saying?
I like the way the president has handled the matter. He's handled it quite maturely. Handle it better than I would have handled it, because so you must understand the person of Donald Trump. He's negotiating. His rhetoric ratchets up on the eve of every conversation or to push leverage. What the president has done is to be measured, which is what he should be doing. Again, I understand that we don't have proper diplomatic representation. That's also something the president needs to look at. The president needs to, it's going to be pushed, probed. There will be attempts to slap him around with facts. Remember,
and videos and pictures.
Yeah, know that. So, I mean, the MO is good. It's good he's going after Zelensky and Cyril Ramaphosa. You've also seen the way the Russian president has handled the meeting. You've seen the way the Chinese have handled the meeting. Let Trump speak. You know, you speak behind the camera. Let him speak.
Let him have the day.
Yeah, let him have his day, you know, do what is important. And then also put the facts before the president. The good thing about President Trump is not all this talk he talks. Remember that he was the president that signed off on the Super Tucano. He's a businessman. Now, Nigeria is looking for arms and ammunition. The president can say, hey, yes, there's problems. We're not denying that there are no problems in the northeast, northwest, north central, or even the southern part of the country. But we've been asking for weapons. So it's for him to go to Trump with a shopping list. Trump needs the U.S. economy to bounce back. He needs to resolve the issue of the exports, what you call the balance of payment between Nigeria and the U.S. Currently, we're in a surplus. They're in a deficit. You say, I mean, we can level this out. We want the equipment. Of all the equipment manufacturers, at least the American systems are still very reliable. You know, so resolve the issues of equipment purchase, put that on the table. What did Zelensky do? When the thing was becoming a bit hot, he went with an offer. Say, hey, we want you on our side. There's a mineral deal, you know, we can cut something. Trump is a businessman. He sees the deficit. For example, the U.S. is in almost $37 trillion deficit. You know, they have to claw that back. The Fed is going through its own problem. Export is not what it should be. So President Trump can get a win from President Tinubu on trade, on negotiation. Remember that for Nigeria, we are non-alignist. We are not aligned to China, to Russia, to any power bloc. And this president has said, anybody that brings the money for investment, Nigeria is open for business. So some of this is also America trying also to counter the influence of the Russo-China influence operation in West Africa leading to Central Africa. I mean, we don't have to be in anybody's fight. If America wants to invest in Nigeria's rare earth mineral sector and help us develop it, by all means, why not? The president should go there with Dele Alaki and go there with other business people, because Trump is a businessman, and play golf together and, you know, just ensure that there's a win-win for everybody and look beyond the talk and just focus on a win-win scenario for the U.S. and for Nigeria. That would be my advice.
Mr. Otunde, I understand your anger towards politicians and the fact that we're still seeking foreign aid. But precisely what do you think we should be doing right now when Trump is threatening military action? We've seen what happened in Iraq and countries like Afghanistan and Libya. It doesn't really mirror what America calls quick, decisive military action. It tarries for too long. In Afghanistan, for instance, 200,000 people virtually died in a space of 20 years. How do you think the Nigerian government should respond right now? And how should we better engage the United States?
Okay, for me, the response is going to be in two ways for me. I will look at what we need to do domestically in Nigeria, then what we need to do in our relationship with the United States. So in terms of our relationship with the United States, I actually don't know why the president has taken this long to appoint ambassadors. I don't think that is good enough. It's 2 years. I know a couple of times they've claimed that we have career diplomats at all the embassies and consulates who are responding to the need. But you have a man who doesn't have a regard even for diplomatic protocol. Now it's time for the president to put his ambassadorial list together and send it to the National Assembly. I think he should do that yesterday. That's number one. Number two, we used to have a very robust relationship with the United States. You will understand we have quite a lot of Nigerians who live in the United States. Aside that, we have had a wonderful time in terms of security, in terms of economic. You see a lot of international oil corporations are also in Nigeria. They don't want that disrupted. So secondly, I would say President should put together a list of a special envoy to mediate between Nigeria and the United States, not to beg, but to put a true perspective of the issues and say, yes, people, there has been security challenges. Yes, we are trying to solve it. This is what we have done. And this is where we think we can work together to get better, maybe intelligence sharing, maybe arms supply and all of that. And to say, okay, this is a country that we all have to protect. You don't want to swing on a country of 250 million people. Where are they going to go? You don't want to do that. So it doesn't make any sense for anybody who is not a bully. Anyway, we need to put that caveat. So now we've seen them, we've seen the dynamics, we've seen the picture. So those are things I think we can do internationally. But locally in Nigeria, if I was president, I'm going to put all the governors in one room, especially the 19 governors of the northern states. Also, don't forget there's a couple of killings in the southeastern part of Nigeria also. Those are Christian killing Christians. So it is not beautiful Christian killing beautiful Christians. So we need to understand, that's part of, we need to know that, okay, yes, the fact that this thing is happening in the northern part of Nigeria, that's why it's kind of look like these crazy guys are, they are just religious guys doing, these are crazy-headed people who take down any people. They went to invest on Maiduguri. They keep people there. Did they tell people when they were coming to the mosque that Christian wrong, Muslim wait, or Muslim wrong, Christian wait? No, they didn't do that. They kill anybody. So I will put all the governors in one room and tell them I need this thing fixed at so time, and I'll give special attention to the governors in the north. They need to stand up places like Castina, places like Zamfara, places like Benue, places like Borno, Yobe. They need to stand up and put their act together. They know all these people. I put all the emirs, I put them in one room. They know all these people. They should tell them very strongly, I need an end to this, and empower the armed forces to make a swing on them. We can drop bombs on them. We can kill them on the road. When you do that within 6 months, everybody will sit tight. And I think the president should be looking in that direction.
Yeah. I want to get your opinion, both of you, especially for those who say perhaps we're paying too much attention to the messenger rather than the message itself. Just 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a conversation about Reverend Dachomo here. Mr. Oyekachi was on the show, had spoken with the retired Brigadier General. The man in a viral video cried out and was calling Trump to come and help. I mean, and Trump answered a few weeks afterwards. There are people in the Middle Belt who would say they agree with the connotation Christian genocide because of the experience they've had. How do you think government should also respond to them? I've spoken with spokespersons of this administration to say that in denying, a genocide as our reality, how are we also fixing the narrative amongst the locals who have been attacked over and over? We've reported attacks in Plateau, in Benue for so long that it has become a norm. It's no longer breaking news. What must they do differently right now, especially for those clergymen who have continued to push this narrative and also call for foreign intervention? I'll begin with you, Mr. Oyekachi.
Okay. Thanks, Nifemi. When this president came to power, we had forewarned of times and moments like this. Yes, and I remember I said that this president will fail on matters of insecurity and security if he doesn't bring the governors to the party. I was at a symposium in Abuja where I spoke to some of the people in the military and the DSS, saying that Nigeria has one security industry, whether you're private or public. There's one industry that is supposed to work for every Nigerian. So the time has come for public, private sector to work together to build this industry and move it forward. Now, what am I saying? The military must support the police must support the military. Good enough, the new chief of defense staff has said that the bulk of the issues that the military is dealing with are matters for the police. So what the president needs to do, let's come back. I mean, Trump has said what he has said. But the truth is that if we don't raise those, people will not raise an eyebrow. All right. The security system is failing. We need state police. To get state police done is very easy. Time it was when the military was against it. And we have taught the military, because it is the military that is dying first. We are losing soldiers, we are losing senior officers. We cannot continue like this. So I'm calling again on the armed forces to support the police. All right. I'm calling on the federal police to support now the creation of state police, and I'm calling on the political class to get it done.
We have completely run out of time. Mr. Awotunde, if you can respond in 30 seconds, what do you say to those who believe this is a prayer answered? You know, the reverends and the pastors who have called for Trump's intervention even publicly.
Okay, so I understand the grief that comes with losing people, especially losing loved ones. You don't even want your enemy to be cut short anytime. You want them to repent and turn a new leaf. So that's very painful, I understand. But also as a country, I believe that while we're seeking help, we need to be holistic with what we're asking for. We need to understand that this is a day of social media where we dump things in. I know people cry out for when happens in Plateau and Benue. We don't want to see anything like that again. But while we're doing that, we also need to have a kind of a respect for our sovereignty. We need to have regard for this country. We need to respect this country. We might have had leaders and politicians who misbehave and all of that, who probably are still misbehaving. But we need to continuously keep them to account and make our voice loud in terms of what we want. We don't want problem. We have seen enough. But I don't ever, you know, for a lot of people, ask people in the US, I can tell you, they believe Africa is a country. A lot of people in the US, they believe Africa is a country. If you ask them, they will tell you what part of Africa is Nigeria, what state in Africa is Nigeria. So people that don't know you, they can't love you more than you do love yourself. We need to hold ourselves to account. We need to love our country. We need to continue to challenge our leaders to do things right. And we are challenging the president. Expectation on him is so high. He needs to fix things. I need to fix it now.
All right. So Tinubu was elected for such a time like this. We see how he and his cabinets respond accordingly. Ladi Awotunde is an international policy analyst who joins us live from Canada. Oekachi Adekoya, security expert here with us in Lagos. Gentlemen, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
That's our show today, everyone. Glad to have you always. That's our show today, everyone. Remember, you can watch it again at midnight and 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. See you again soon.